Yep. Maloni, welcome to the Blood, Sweat and Talanoa Podcast, episode 20. BST is a podcast with three guys from Porirua, talking about health and well-being through a number of perspectives, sharing some of our life and experiences and personal journeys, and always looking to engage. So please like and join our Blood, Sweat and Talanoa page as we look to build our community together. My name is Te Ho, and I'm here with my two usos, Tiare and Shane. Kia ora, talofa lava. How are we going tonight, boys?
I'm good, bro. Kia ora. All good.
Yeah. Bro, Tiare, we're going to let you invite our special. She's a very special person in this whole of Porirua, Wellington, New Zealand community. So I'd like you to introduce our guest, please, bro.
Yeah, kia ora, talofa lava to all our guests out there too, and also like to invite our one and only Naomi Siania from Escott Park, another Escott Park person here.
Yeah.
Talofa lava there, Naomi. How are you?
Kia ora koutou, talofa lava. Mā lole soifua, maoma le langi mali māma.
If you could just share a bit of a pepeha about yourself and where you were brought up, and then we'll continue from there. Thank you.
All right. Born and bred in Porirua. I'm an original Cannon Street girl from Leicester Street. My brother's actually named after Leicester Street. So my mother comes from Matautu Ngāpia. My father is from Faafoi Lifanga. Then we moved. So I went to Brandon Intermediate.
Oh, Brandon!
New school. Schooled in Wellington in the end. I am a mother of three beautiful adult children, and married to a wonderful man that you all know.
The man.
But he's actually at volleyball, so it's quite good that he's not here in the kitchen with me.
Are you sure he's not in the background there?
No.
Look, your
One of those Power Rangers.
So yeah, I'm the oldest of three. My brother's in Australia, which some of you may know. His name is Lester. My younger sister, who is Aviati, but she had another name. We used to tease her and we used to call her Karen. But her name is Aviati. She's my younger sister. She ministers to the churches out there. She's a whalitua. Her husband is a minister down there in Christchurch. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Well, what school in Wellington?
Yeah. Wellington Girls College. Back in the 80s, there's probably only about, 5 Samoans, 5 Māoris in the school back in those days. A lot of them were, of course, Balangi, Asians, and a lot of exchange students from overseas. But we were just a tiny little brown group back in those days. So when I look at Wellington girls today, that's so inspiring to see so many of them. I've got a little sister that's already there now, so she's loving it. So yeah, her name's Brianna. Yeah.
Well, if you did go to college in Porirua, which one would it have been?
I reckon it would have been Porirua College.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I reckon Porirua College is probably the most populated of our Pacifica people, and I notice it's grown of our other ethnic communities in there. My auntie was a teacher there, which is my mum's sister. You may know her, Anne Moi Faafoi. She used to teach there. She is now actually teaching over at Viad College. So yeah. So a lot of our families have gone through there. So.
Oh, Sister Naomi, I just want to shout out because I think this is probably the first time I've ever met you.
Yeah.
I probably heard heaps about you, but I didn't know that that's your brother Lester. That's
my brother.
Or?
Yeah. He's younger.
He's younger than you, eh?
Yeah, it's just that my siblings are 6 foot plus, and and I'm only 5'10", I think.
Big heart.
Yeah. So he's really good. He runs his prayer groups. You may have
Yes.
seen them, Taho. So my
Yes.
brother runs his prayer groups in there as well, online, but he's in Sydney. He's in Sydney. Yeah.
Nice. Well, Naomi, we're going to get into a lot of sort of stuff around the work that you're doing now and also
Yes.
some of that background. So you're the Pātaka Kai manager at Te Umu Ki Rangituhi, the social supermarket run by the Runanga of Ngāti Toa, Rangatira. Tell us a bit about that, because really important. We're close to Christmas, and so really keen for you to talk about that mahi that you're currently involved with.
Yeah. Yeah, Christmas is going to be a real tough time for our whānau out in the community, considering what's happening with the political climate that we're in today. So in the last couple of years, we used to create Christmas packs for our families. So Pātaka Kai is our food bank site, and we used to prepare Christmas packs, and we used to have like things that kids would like pavlova, pudding, Christmas streamers, and the other things we would put in there is, because we have summer Christmas, it'll be like chicken pieces or sausages, things that kids would like. Because in a food parcel, you get these non-perishable kai. We also add in our protein, which it could be fish or it could be mince. And then we have our veggies. But the Christmas pack, I wanted it to be separate to focus on the children that were in the families that were struggling, because we're really whānau-centric. So I wanted to make it so that the kids will be excited to open the box and have a look that it was something different instead of a food parcel. And the reason why we wanted to do that is we ran Te Aki, which was our Manaki and clinical team through COVID. And we used to prepare kai packs and deliver it to families isolating. And I remember putting some stuff in there for the kids. And I went to deliver it, and the mother comes to the door, and the kids are behind her because they're isolating. And the children, you could hear them when they open up the box, and they were so excited. So that was the push and the drive for me to continue to do that for the kids at Christmas time, for those families that were suffering out there. And yeah.
Well, look, we're just in terms of COVID. Like, I'm wanting to talk a little bit more around the social supermarket and that, but just through COVID, I know you did a lot of work in that particular space. The community sort of mobilized across a number of different fronts. What was that sort of experience like, and particularly with yourself having that direct contact with families that were suffering COVID?
Yeah. So the way how I moved into, which was led by Ngāti Toa, which was led by the iwi, the COVID response for our whānau in the Porirua community. They were looking for a community connector that could speak to our Pacific people, particularly our Samoans. And I was working in another area at that time. And so I worked with the iwi for a secondment as a connector to speak to our Samoans who English was their second language. So I would come out with the clinical team. Oh my gosh. And those days, you know how everyone had to isolate and stay home? We would come with the clinical team and put on the whole PPE gear. We'd put the, those overalls, those gloves, those the fires. And families, they're in the street because there's hardly anyone in the street, right? Families are looking out their windows and they go, oh, I wonder what family this is. And they'd watch us. That's how quiet the street was, eh? So I remember going to see this family, and the elderly couple, they were living in the, I think it was like what do you call that? It's like a garage, but then the rest of the whānau were living in the front. And so, the sleep out, that's it. They were in the sleep out. And so I came with the clinical team, went to go and see this family, this elderly couple. And English, of course, was their second language. And so I'm talking to them. And because their younger grandchildren or their children were their advocates, but they were isolating in the front whare, and the elders in the back. So I went to go and see them, take the clinical team to see them. And they were too scared to come out of their sleep out. And my heart went to them. And they're a beautiful couple, beautiful elderly couple. So I made it so that they could feel easy and be able to answer questions or ask questions where I will just, interpret that, translate it, and then let the clinical team know how the elderly are feeling. So for me, that was really humbling, because we look after our elders, that we have to, and with our Pacific people, and I know it's the same with our Māori and other nations, is that we look after our elderly. We make sure that they're fed, clothed, because it's us returning what they did for us. They looked after us. So that was an experience from there. And then we evolved into the Pātaka Kai space as as COVID started, the cases started coming down. And then you had that traffic light system where, if you're at this stage, you can come out of the traffic light system, which was a pain in the ass for a lot of families out there, especially around families that were stuck overseas and wanted to come home to be by their elderly's parents' side to look after them, especially when, when whānau wanted to come over because a member of their family had passed away. And remember those isolations, and they were stuck in the motels or hotels, and
was it 10 days stand down or something when they arrived in the country?
Down, and I was working for someone else before I come onto the iwi, and what I saw was a lot of the people and businesses were closing down. People were suffering. People were standing in those lines for shopping in the supermarkets. And you had to. It reminded me of the Carless days. I don't know if you guys were around back in the Carless days when we didn't have when that war was on and we couldn't get the what do you call it, the petrol, and then you had Carless days, and each family had a day where they'll come out. Maybe I'm showing my age, bro.
Hey, was that the one with the yellow stick and green stickers?
Yeah, yellow sticker, green sticker. You can drive your
for the days of the week,
day, right? So when I think about the traffic light system, when I think about families had to isolate, in the beginning it was around 14 days, and then it came down to 10, so later come down to 7. And then, there were some people who had lost their jobs, some employers who didn't have enough money to actually let their kai mahi work from home. So there was a lot of those issues around whānau that were suffering. So as I looked at that, I knew where I wanted to go. I knew my passion and drive was, because of my experience, I can share it with the families. I can work in the area that I'm in now. And so, and then that's how Pātaka started. We moved into a Pātaka space. We had, I moved into, after this comment had finished, everyone went back to their, original mahi. I stayed on, and then I moved into the Toa TRA social space. So myself and my other colleague, he's no longer with us now, worked in that space, and they had a little Pātaka, a little food bank. And that's where I really admire this guy. His name is Rob Peaver.
Yeah, we know Rob.
People. So when I moved into this space, I looked after the tiaki space with the food that needs to go to families that were isolated. And Rob had the food where it goes to people that needed Pātaka Kai, the food bank side. So what we needed to do was put the both together and put the kai mahi work together and find an area where they needed to work under one roof. Because at the moment we had them under 2 different spaces. So we moved them under one roof, and that's how our Pātaka Kai was created from there. And then we moved and we launched the social supermarket in February this year. It's only been February this year that we launched.
Now that's a partnership with Foodstuffs.
Yes, it is.
As well. So talk to us in terms of that evolution into Te Umu Ki Rangituhi.
So there were a few social supermarkets around, but the first one in the North Island was Wellington City Mission. Yeah. Yes. Wellington City Mission. And had a few huis with them, collaborated with them, have a look around their social supermarket. We went to go and visit a couple of supermarkets up in the North Island before we even had that discussion with Foodstuffs to build that partnership. Because everyone has a different business model, the areas, everyone's demographic is different too. So we looked at our demographics in Porirua, majority are Māori and Pacifica and other nations. You looked at Wellington City Mission, they're amazing. They cover all of the Wellington region and the Hutt. And a lot of their whānau that they look after, a lot of them are the homeless ones. So we have homelessness here in Porirua too, but the homelessness one is huge up there. And so they would just come and walk into the door. So they're looking at how they can serve these people that needed food. So we had a look around and then we decided, let's open up a social supermarket out here to serve the people in our Porirua area. So our catchment area is from Tawa to Pukerua Bay. And the way the whānau can access the supermarket is they need to go to their service providers, or they can register with Toa TRA and come in, register, sit with our kaimahi and our kaiarahi, because we have a budgeting team that can look after the whānau. We have a budgeting team and we work around our wraparound service, because where I work, we also have health, we have housing, we have employment and training, and then the social services team, and we can work and set up a wraparound service for a whānau to come in and do their shopping in the social supermarket. And we also collaborate with other organisations that work with whānaus in hard places and stuff. So we've got like Wesley Community Action, Salvation Army, Taio Menino. So all those organisations out there that I know that are working with their families can actually put their families, refer their families through to us for the food parcel or the social supermarket.
Yeah.
So
sorry.
Together.
So with the social supermarket, and then you've got Foodstuffs on board as a partner, is it?
Yeah.
I mean,
yes.
So what's their role with you guys? Like, what
So
do they do?
the partnership with Foodstuff, because we are the 11th social supermarket in the North Island.
Yeah.
And there's more social supermarkets being established as we speak up in the North Island. We don't have social supermarkets down in the South Island, because obviously I don't know if you know that they were going to merge together. So
they were foodies.
The South Island were going to merge
Yes.
together.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen, or there's some issues around
There's,
that. Otherwise, you would have seen some social supermarkets happening down the South Island.
Okay.
And Foodstuff is great with this initiative. It's their social responsibility to the community.
So they provide you your social supermarket.
What they did was they did the initial setup of sending us how can I say it? How can I say it was sounding funny? So the partnership with them was for us to let them know that, one, we had a food Pātaka side space, who was our community, how do we serve the community. So they were looking at stats and data and the demographics in our area. And then when they came on board, we signed an agreement, a 3-year partnership with them, for them to provide in our first initial stage of opening up was some products, some of the products that come through from the opening of the social supermarket. Okay. We have a buddy store with New World in Tawa. Yeah. We get our bulk orders from there. We had a stock credit with them. So the stock credit will be sitting with our buddy store, and then we would replenish
from there.
Come through.
I was just trying to get my head around how their partnership, how do they?
Yeah. But there's that. And also we have donation boxes at the New World in Tawa, New World in Porirua, and New World in Whitby. So donation there for the food.
Now, Naomi, you've talked just about sort of the criteria and stuff like this. The supermarket's on a point system. Do you want to talk us through in terms of what?
Yes. So
like?
The point system is part of the one of the parts of it's the main part of the model for Foodstuff. So the point system, instead of having your prices on the shelves like a normal supermarket, the point system works for the whānau. So they would learn how to shop properly, around nutrition and that. It's empowering and giving that mana and dignity for whānau to walk around the supermarket, have a look at what they need. And so, for example, a single person can spend 55 points in the supermarket. And that 55 points, they can walk around there and come out with $100 worth of shopping. That's why it's called a social supermarket, because the cost is really low. So it's to, so they work on this point system. I should have actually had a graph up and showed you what it looked like, eh? But anyway, since we're on here, you can always pop up and have a walk around the social supermarket and have a look how it's set up.
And look, we'll put the link. We'll put the link in the in the chat for this as well. But you've got a number about like 5 different sort of point systems, or in terms of from 0 to 5, in terms of people being able to look at what their potential sort of points can, how they can distribute that in terms of groceries they need.
Yep. So you've got for a whānau so it starts at 55 points. For a single person, it's 55 points. For whānau 2 to 3, it is actually like 65 points. So it goes 55, 60, 70, and 75 points. That's how it's been set up. And those points would be sort of similar to the dollar value of what they're shopping in a normal supermarket. Yeah. So you're teaching whānau financial literacy and well-being, and also it's a hand-up approach. It is not a hand-out approach like we do with our pātaka kai, our food bank. Yeah.
But look, you actually were sort of right there from the inception in terms of the idea and getting it up. What were some of the challenges in terms of getting underway? Like, you had the partnership, but obviously there was a little bit of arranging and organizing and logistics. What were sort of the biggest challenges for you?
I think the biggest challenges are when you sign an agreement with foodstuff, there's a requirement of how big the supermarket needs to be. So they'll give us, and that was a bit of an issue for us because, you couldn't make it any bigger and then you couldn't make it any smaller, but it was a requirement of the size of the social supermarket that we had to work with. Also, some of the challenges I had with that was sometimes the comms would break down between myself and the team lead from foodstuffs. To find out, when's the training for our team. The training's really easy, but the fact is I like to have everything all planned out, and so I want to make sure that my team is ready to rock and roll on the first day we open to the whānau. So there was some training issues and some comm issues as well, because I think they didn't realize that, because some of the social supermarkets they work with smaller organizations. But because we're the Runanga, we're huge and we have our own comms team. So I think that was an eye opener for foodstuffs, because foodstuffs huge. I think the other issue that I had was cultural competency. It was the cultural competency thing, because foodstuff is mainstream, sort of thing, and then you have to work with iwi. You have to work with what our tika is and our policy, right?
What to eat.
Respect between us and them, because it's supposed to be a partnership. So those were my concerns at the time with them, but it's worked out really well. Yeah.
No, that's nice. Look, the other thing too. Look, you're one of the you're a people leader within the Runanga. You're Samoan. What's that like in terms of that connection?
I think it's great. I think there were a lot of from a woman that is Samoan, born and bred here. But I think there was a lot of people in the community, their perspective of us working with Māori, working with iwi, because a lot of people in the East didn't even know what the Runanga does. They didn't understand what the iwi provides. And so the more we connect with people from other regions of Porirua, the other suburbs of Porirua, and built that relationship, and I think that was one of the good things of me coming on board, being born and bred, bilingual, Samoan, strong woman.
You have to be hip strong, eh? Especially, you know.
We'll get there.
Building those relationships.
Yeah, build them.
I remember just following up from that is I opened up the social supermarket to our external service providers. And I remember one of the providers that were coming in, they were Pacifica, coming in, and they weren't too sure whether they would come into the social supermarket. Like they wanted to come in, they wanted to visit, they wanted to see how it will support their aingas, their whānau they look after and they're providing. But because we were a Māori organisation, so it was for me to get them to work together and connect and make them feel welcome.
Yeah.
And so that's how we built that relationship with others, so that we could kill that stigma of how a Pacific people would perceive Maoris and how Maoris would perceive our Pacific people.
Yeah.
We need to build on it because, bro, my best friend's Maori. Hi, Karina. And you think there's so many of our Pacifica people married to Maoris, right?
Yeah.
And so, and you know, we grew up with all of them, especially here, you know. So, and we have the same values. It was just trying to connect that relationship. That when we talk about te o te wā, the respect. So we have to, the mutual agreement and the relationship is so important for us to work together, because at the end of the day, we serve the people and we make sure that the kids have got food in their tummy, you know, the rents are gone up, these families living in emergency housing, and people's got to realize these families living in emergency housing, they're homeless too. There's nowhere for them to go. And then the government wants to bring in the $3 lunch. What?
Wow.
So, you know, and we need to make sure that these families, just trying to relieve them from all that stress of one, they would have lost their jobs, or two, they can't afford the rent's going higher. The other ones is I've got whānau, I've got wahine and safe houses. You know, we're working with family from family harm. So when we book these families to come in, it's only the family by themselves that shop in the supermarket.
Yeah, I was going to ask how that process is.
Yeah, so we give them a half-hour slot.
Half hour. Oh, yeah.
A half hour, so it's just them.
Yeah.
Go and do their whakao.
Yeah.
And they come in with their little kids too, and they're all excited, you know, they're walking around. And a lot of the families that come out of the social supermarket, because we don't believe in judgment. We don't judge anyone that walks through the door that needs food to feed their families, that needs to come in the social supermarket to do their whakao without being judged. So, and my team that I have, that I manage, they're amazing with anyone that walks through the door, right? So I love my job.
Now, so we're coming into Christmas now. You know, sometimes that can be, while we sort of talk about that as a time to sort of celebrate and a number of things for a number of families, it can be quite a stressful time. Is that, and just with the work that you're doing, what are some of the things that you're sort of seeing as we lead into this current sort of Christmas season in terms of need in the community?
Oh, the need is huge, Shane. The need is huge. This month we would have done just over 200 food parcels. Wow. And that's just in 1 month. And I know it's going to get worse because a lot of families have been, you know, some of the public sector, more jobs are going, businesses are going. And then we've noticed that the social supermarket, a lot of the families that are coming in, we haven't got a waiting list as yet, so I'm quite happy with that. But a lot of families are coming in and they're really desperate. They're really desperate, though. They want to come in and do their shopping in the social supermarket or get some pātika kai. And so I see the trend through our service providers that put in their bookings or referrals through to us, what's happening out there. But yeah, that's huge. I reckon by end of December, we would have done 300 pātika kai packs. we would have had try to squeeze in 300 families to come in the next couple of weeks to come and do their shopping. So when I see families that know each other, if we can take 2 families at a time, then they'll come in and shop together at a time. But the reason why we do this half hour of just the family is because I got to think about their safety. I got to think about their mental well-being, because some of them would come through our health team, some of them will come through our women's refuge. They will come through too. So I've got to make sure they're safe.
Safe.
Safe, because the safety is most important for them.
Yeah.
We do a lot of work with the police, because family harm is going to be huge around Christmas time. It's huge already now. So they always come in and pick up a food parcel, take it to the family that they have to work with, because we open our Hataka Kai side from Monday to Fridays, and some of the food banks have closed down in our area. Some of the food, because of they had cut the funding. Some of the food banks have closed down in our area. Some food banks only open maybe once or twice or 3 times a week, or maybe half the morning or half the day, whatever. I don't know how they do their one. But because we're consistent and we're open from Mondays to Fridays, other providers come through to us because they know that the whānau will get the kai. And I work on a high trust model. I know that these service providers, our internal ones and our external ones, already know the history of the family. So if they book in a family for the social supermarket, my expectation is that this service provider brings the family in for their first time, take them through the social supermarket. You know, that saying, trusted faces, trusted places, because they know who they're working with, and they'll guide them through the social supermarket so they would feel welcome and comfortable. So they shop in there 3 times per calendar year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
3 times per calendar. The first time around, they've come in, and the second time around, my expectation is that there's a wraparound service with them. Because what we want to do, when I say the social supermarket, it's a hand-up approach, not a handout like our food bank, but it's a hand-up approach so that I know that we're empowering these families out here that are struggling through education, through training, through what do they need in the housing space, because we've got social housing here, which is Te Ahuru Moai, right? We've got them. We've got James Pooney, who runs that.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Yeah. So my whole approach is the around the holistic approach. Make sure that the whānau have a full tummy, make sure that if there was anything they needed in training or employment, or what support they need in the health space, that there's someone there to work with them.
So is there numbers? Sorry, Naomi, is there numbers that you could call? Yeah.
Yes, there is. Yeah, we have a website, so I can put that on the link.
You'll put that in the link.
I can go through the website on there. Yeah.
Naomi, look, one of the things I was keen to is that you've talked about this, is that, an element of redistribution of where funding's going in terms of the community services, but you talk about the coordination across those services. The Runanga's got a number of those in-house, but then also connecting to the wider services across the city. What's a couple of things? One, what's the importance of that coordination, given you're working with vulnerable families? But then also, how do you ensure, given we're in this type of environment where resourcing or funding is going to other places or out of those systems, how do we ensure those families don't fall through the cracks?
Well, you know why I started, why I've come out to this NGO space, is because when I was working with constituent cases, there were so many families that fell through the crack or fall through the crack, and I knew we had a lot of support in our service providers out here. So I know there's the Pacifica Network meetings they have once a month, which I haven't been able to go to, and that's run by Caroline Mariko and Vanessa Masoi, which is amazing, because you've got all your public sectors in there, you've got your NGOs in there that work together with our whānau out here, and that's hosted at MSD. That was through my husband Finley. So that's how we'd know if there was what are the issues in our community. But not everyone is part of that group. We do have, I know other organisations have their huis too, to find out what's happening out there. And so, yeah, and just me having that relationship with those external providers and our internal providers so that we can be transparent with each other, because these families really need the support. They really do. Yeah.
Now, I know you've also got connection to the the ethnic,
Yes,
multicultural
yeah.
community as well. Another important part of Porirua in terms of our community there, but also one that can sometimes be a little bit invisible when sort of looking at services.
Yeah. So we have a great relationship with Porirua Multicultural Council, which is all our ethnic communities and our refugee migrants. So we keep connected in there. We also have the English language partners. And we also have this lovely lady, Jacqueline. I don't know if you met Jacqueline. So Jacqueline works with PAX, and she works with all our other ethnic communities. She will bring in the Syrian families that come and shop in the social supermarket. So these Syrian families that come in, I can't have one of my tanes working there when it's a woman in there. So either I go in there or another female go inside the social supermarket when the Syrian woman come in and do the shopping. So when we talk about cultural responsiveness, it's not just cultural responsiveness with our, we know each other, the Māori Pacifica, but also cultural responsiveness with those other communities that are coming on board. We make sure that no one gets left behind.
Nice.
No one gets left behind.
Matata.
Yeah.
Now, Naomi, look, you've touched on it, so we'll change gears on this. We'll go into that. One of the things that, and this talks of the great work that you're doing in terms of the social supermarket and that as well, as you bring a wealth of experience from a number of other areas. Quite one that's quite important is the work immediately prior to your coming to Ngāti Toa, which was working for the current sort of MP for Mana, and also her predecessor, Kris Faafoi. And that would have given you a lot of experience and insight into the community in terms of that work. Talk to us about that sort of stint with Kris and Barbara.
Yeah, so it was an eye-opener for me. It was an eye-opener for me because I've been working in the public sector for a very long time. I worked for education. I worked for corrections. I worked for also Crown agencies like the fire service and all that, and other areas, DIA and that. And so when the opportunity came up to work for Kris Faafoi, I thought, I'm going to try this out. Yeah. And it's another level, eh? It's another level because in the public sector, there are some areas that you need to navigate through, especially being a Pacifica woman.
Bit grey, a little bit grey.
Yeah, but writing these policies and guidelines and things that you think is good for our people, but really it doesn't work for our people.
Yeah.
I've also faced systemic racism working in the public sector.
Yeah.
And I felt that there was a lot of disconnection. So when I had the opportunity to work for Kris, I thought that was awesome. I worked in the electorate, looking at all the I was the senior MP support, where we support our ministers and our MPs of the electorate, looking at what's happening in our community, working with our other public sectors such as housing, health, but mainly our focus was to look after our constituents that walk through the door with their concerns or the issues. And so when I saw a lot of the issues that I had with these whānaus, I was quite disheartened because I was like, when you live in the capital, and it's the capital of, you live in the capital all your life, you knew you were always going to have a government job because that's the way it works.
Yeah.
And then you're thinking, oh yeah, this is where my life is going to be. And then when you finally get to that place and work in Parliament, think, man, I'm going to make a difference. I'm going to be honest now.
Yeah.
I'm going to work in this area. And there were some ups and downs in those areas, with people coming through the door wanting some support from their local MP. And there were areas that were that I could support them in, and there were areas where I just had to hold the line. But in my heart, I knew that we could do more. And that's it in a nutshell, that we can do more. Whether we had money or no money, we could do more. And so that was the push for me to come out into an NGO space. But
Naomi,
yeah.
what's the most important thing? Like in the work that you did, a lot of it is advocacy in that. What makes a good advocate?
I think what makes a good advocate is that, man, just listen. Just listen to what the constituent's going through. Don't listen to respond or reply. Just listen to understand. That's the main thing. Coming from a community, and born, like I said, I'm born and bred in Porirua.
Yeah.
I've been through some spaces that these constituents have been through. I know where they're coming from. When I see families coming through because they're hungry, or I see families come through because they're going to be kicked out of their house. I've had families who come through because, those
domestic
violence. Which is what I've heard, those stories where one of the parents had passed away, but the other parent's name is not on the lease of the house, and so they're going to be kicked out. Those stories come through the door. I had a mother who came in, her daughter had some mental well-being issues, and so they were living in these houses, and her daughter was going to get kicked out of the house, and this mother refused to give up on her. So when I see parents walk through the door and their kid could be alcohol, drug addiction, homeless, all of that stuff that that we see every day, and I want to support them more, and I want to give more, and I know we can do more, but certain guidelines, we just couldn't get through that. And then I thought, nah. And I think what actually pushed me out to be able to support these families was my grandfather. My grandfather came to New Zealand in the 50s. He came on the boat. He had two beautiful daughters in Samoa. They were twins with my grandmother. They had split. Anyway, came on the boat as a boxer. Because in Samoa, they used to have a boxing club. So my granddad thought, this is a great opportunity to hop on this boat with the rest of the boys and get a job over here. So they landed in Wellington, worked on the wharf, and then my grandfather never forgot about his twin daughters, which is my mum and her twin sister, because he said once he settled, he will bring them over. Yeah. And he did. My grandfather passed away probably 3 years ago, but he always said to me, be your own boss. And I always thought, I don't want to run my own company. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. But he just said, be your own boss. And now as I'm older, I realize what he's saying to me was, or the way I would interpret it was, be true to yourself. Yeah. Be true to what are you doing? What is your purpose? What's your drive? I wear my heart on my sleeve, but I work hard for it too, because I know what it's like not to have food in the house when we were younger. I remember one Christmas time, my parents were really upset because Dad had lost his wallet. Back in the days, he was working in the factory and he lost his wallet, and he had his, how they used to pay back in the day. They were excited about doing this Christmas for us. And it was just the one Christmas, and he was so upset. He'd lost his wallet with the Christmas pay. And my mum was working at Kodak, I think, back then. Was Dad working at Mitzi's? I think Dad was at Mitzi's. Mum was at Kodak. And Mum had these books, because back in those days, people used to sell things at people's work. So Mum had these books. And when it came to Christmas time, my dad was really upset, and and you could see what was happening with mum and dad, and we would just take whatever they gave us, and they gave us books for Christmas, but our pockets were empty. You know what I mean? But but my dad had his brothers and sisters. We worked together collectively to feed each other. That's how I know it can still work out here. Where the classes are. So I know what that's like to be in those places, and so that's my drive to make sure that these families, we support them through there. I mean, out of these, when I think about these families that come through the door as constituents, they've got children. They've got children that look up to them and say, how are you going to help me? And then you think of the kids that are in the OT space. But that's another story. But anyway, what I'm saying is, at the end of the day, we've got to feed these families, because these kids that we're feeding or we're clothing or whatever, they're going to be our leaders. They're going to be our leaders one day. They might even be the prime ministers. We might have our first Samoan prime minister in there,
You might be talking to one right now.
Yeah. But, think about Sepaloni. Man, sure. Deputy prime minister. But, those kids that are going to places right now, if we can be there to support them, because you look at the suicide rate, because there are kids that think, oh, what else am I going to do? What am I, I'm going to, but I want to shine the light on them, because one day they will be great leaders out there, and I'll be in a nursing home, so. That's where my heart is.
Well, look, I think your grandfather definitely would sort of look on the work that you're doing now and think that one, you are being the boss, and one, you are sort of providing that tautua and that support as well. Now, before we get into other stuff, one other thing you mentioned, it, boxing. Okay.
Grandfather.
People, me and Naomi offline have a number of chats around boxing. So, Naomi, who is the best boxer? Who is the best boxer of all? Well, two things. Who is the best heavyweight boxer right now? And then who's your favorite fighter overall, all time?
Tyson's still my favorite, even though that was such a pathetic fight that was on that day.
He got a hook them lots of times.
I think on the male side, I think that poor guy Durant, he was so good, and he came from a place of poverty, right? Durant came from a place of poverty
in Panama. Yep.
I think of those that come from a real hard place and had to make those decisions. Tyson will always be. I'm not a fan of Muhammad Ali. I'm not a fan of him. I'm not a fan of what's that guy's name? The Money Man.
Floyd Mayweather.
I can't stand him. I cannot stand him. Who do I like? I'll come back to that, but I think my favorite female fighter it was Katie. It was the Bombay, the Brea Bomber, but after what I saw, what she did with Serrano, I thought, nah.
She lost that fight. Well, I thought it. I thought Serrano did enough.
I mean, that headbutt was terrible.
There's a few headbutts.
It was bad, but I love Katie because she comes from a place of struggle too. But man, you just don't do that. And Serrano is ready to go hard.
And I felt that if they had stopped that fight and gone to the scorecards, that Serrano would have won that.
I was so heartbroken because I was like, no, Katie won't do that. And then I watched it and went, oh nah. Because I used to be a big fan of her too. And then I'm waiting for Clarissa Shields to start climbing right now. I really like her style. I think Clarissa Shields is really cool. Yeah. But I think Durant, Frazier,
all the blue collar fighters.
Yeah, all the blue collar fighters are the ones that go for a.
We're probably in the same orbit then, because Marvin Hagler, he's my guy. Honest hard work.
Yeah.
Well, I only just follow David Tua, so
Oh yes, David
Yeah.
Tor. He's in Samoa now.
Yeah. I see
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
over there
He's
nowadays.
been posting. He's been posting little workouts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
From his deck.
From
Hey,
his
just to continue with your talanoa, you mentioned in your talk there some previous work such as corrections. What was
Yes.
your role in corrections?
Whoa, I had 2 jobs in corrections.
Oh yeah.
I worked in for National Office and Corrections when my son. Did I have my son then? I think,
Can't remember.
bro. So it's been a while. I think I just had the 2 girls and I had my son. But anyway,
Yeah.
I worked and we called it the public prison and National Office. And I worked in the legal team where we did Section 107s. And these Section 107s are the worst guys that we in prison who did some heinous stuff to children.
Okay.
And so, so I worked there for a while. And then I had my son. I think I left and had my son. I can't remember. And then the second time I worked for corrections was a corrections officer.
Okay. Yeah.
And
You went
that
through the full
was,
training.
I tell you, I was working with education before I'd left. And I wanted to change because we do these guidelines for our frontline people. We write policy for our frontline people. And I think I was getting sick of writing ministerials for and so I wanted something different. So I went and applied as a corrections officer. I thought I was going to save the world. Oh my gosh. That was an eye-opener for me. So I went in, did the training. I was so green.
How long was the training?
So the training was about, 6 or 8 weeks training?
And do you stay on campus or do you have to like travel?
So they had a training centre in Upper Hutt.
Yeah,
So you train in there and stuff. And so we did the training there, and everybody from all walks of life had applied, and we made it. We made the cut and went in and did some training in corrections. And then we did our placements, and so they'll put us in different prisons for placements. And I did my placement in Rimataka, and I thought, oh yeah. And then I ended up in the pods. And the pods in Rimataka. No, it's the inside.
Inside.
The inside. So in the pods is where all
it's not that I've been there. I used to do some work in there.
The George rumours going around, Charlie.
So in the pods is where all the tāne go in there that haven't been sentenced. That's the remand.
Yeah.
So when they're in the remand unit, they can do whatever they want in there. They can be as naughty as they want. Anyway, so I got there, did my work placement, and the unit manager over there, I don't know what it is, but what I found was that there was a lot of brown people that would work down in the pods. And like we had our Palangi counterparts in the nice outside.
The easier.
But we were like in
so
the ground. In the pods. So we were in there. And I remember going in, and they said, oh, which prison do you want to go to? But I'll go in any. So they gave me Rimataka. So I went into Rimataka to do my, training thing, placement thing. And then I thought, oh, yeah, I'll try Arohata Women's. And then I don't know what happened. That's right. I met with one of the boys that we know out here in Porirua because, which place are you going to go to? And I said, I don't know. I might go to Arohata Women's. Anyway, I don't know if I should say his name. Should I say his name?
Just say some guy anyway. Just say some guy.
They'll know who they are.
Yeah.
They'll know who
they are. Just say
you
Mr. B.
know who these fellas are.
Just say Mr. B.
Yeah, so they were working as corrections officers.
Yeah.
And they've been there for years. And they go, what are you doing here? And I said, I wanted to try it out. They go, this is not a place for you. And I went, I just want to try it out.
Okay.
Anyway, so one of the guys says, well, which place are you going to pick? And I says, I'll probably go to Arohata Women's. He goes, no. You come here with all the boys. You come work here with Taka. I went, okay. Only because they wanted to make sure, because, they look at me as their sister.
Yeah, safe.
Because we're born and bred here. We know everybody.
Yeah.
Anyway, I thought, thinking I was going to a nice outside unit or something, where the guys had already been sentenced. They've been already rehabilitated. I'll probably go into one of those units, first time. Didn't happen. I ended up down in the remand unit. I was there for about 13 months in the remand unit, and the unit manager there only wanted Māori or Pacifica people to work in there for the tānes that were inside.
Why? Is there a reason?
I think it was, I don't know if one of the boys are probably watching this. I'm not too sure why it was just Māori and Pacifica corrections officers that would go in there.
Would it
maybe
be because you can communicate?
Yeah, I think
Maybe
it's
because you
maybe
can
we're more relatable.
Relate to them.
To our tānes that were in there, that were inside, because the majority of them were Māori and Pacifica. So maybe it was because we can connect and our relationships will be better with these, with the tānes that were inside. That could be it.
Naomi, did the training adequately prepare you for
your first day?
Yeah.
Wow.
No, so if you see that corrections ads on TV and you got whānau that want to do it, please tell them don't do it.
They're watching now.
Don't do it.
False advertising.
That's the trick.
True.
Well, coming
Honestly,
from your
every night, because we have these shifts, every night my husband's waiting for me to come home. There's always drama from the prison.
Hey, now, bro.
He's like, is my wife going to come home safe? Is she going to come home in one piece?
Yeah.
And then, every night when I was doing my shifts at night times,
during
the days, but it was the stuff that they trained us was nothing compared to what I had to deal with when I was in there. It was nothing. So I've seen some really bad stuff in there. It's stuff that I feel, I really feel for the prisoners in there. I feel because they're locked up 23 hours of the day. There's in the remand unit, there's no rehabilitation. You get case managers that come in, they're waiting for their court cases, they're stuck in there for ages. And by the time they come out, they've already done 2/3 of their sentence. So they haven't been rehabilitated at all, if you know what I mean. So there needed to be some changes in there. And like I used to get what's the word? Some of the old corrections officers that were been in there would say things like, "Oh, what are you doing in here?" And I says, "Oh, I'm here to save the world." My mindset. No. I said, I wanted to come and see how it works for our corrections officers in there too. Because all the guidelines, all the policy that you give to our people in the front line doesn't work unless you're in it. Unless you're in it. And so it was a lesson for me to watch. And so, and you always hear about corrections officers in the news about being corrupt or someone got done or someone got whatever. But in that space, when you're in that place, it's you have to watch your back. You have to be careful. Who is it that you trust? Is your buddy your back? These guys, have they got your back, or you can piss someone off and then next minute it just happens. So it was a real eye opener for me. There was a situation when I was working in the unit, and so some of the stuff that I've seen, I was working in this unit, and a young tāne up there tried to commit suicide, and this was probably an eye-opener for me. And I know some of the corrections officers, if you're watching, you know what I'm feeling. And I was rostered that day, and I was just like, and the boys were out doing their exercise and stuff, and some of the inmates that are inside, they just watched him do it, but I'm not alerted to it till it's the last minute. And then they go, "Oh, miss," and then I heard this thump, and the guy trying to hang himself from the top level.
Mm.
And then you know what happened? So we tried to, so then there was the alert, everyone come in and that.
Yeah.
And all the prisoners inside go, oh, you didn't do a good job. You didn't do a good job. And this is a young Tane, a young Tane. I've had some Tanes in there, young ones, who are in there because they've got traffic tickets. Traffic tickets. So I was like, I had to check again, go, hey, are you sure? Went to check. Yep. If you don't pay those fines, you're inside too. Think of the money we're wasting to put them in there.
Mm.
You know?
And
Think of the dollars, and they want to make a new prison. Oh my gosh!
Well, Naomi, the talk at the moment is around sort of sentences, harsher sentences, placed to a certain audience in the country and stuff like that. With your experience, what do you think are the key things that we should be considering if we're talking around prison reform?
Oh my gosh! I think we need these boys to be connected with their culture. And when I talk about cultural responsiveness, I don't talk about us as a sector to be more culturally competent with the guys that are inside. I think it's actually, I think what they need to do is actually, what's the word?
Find their identity.
Their identity, definitely their identity. I mean, there was one stage I was in there trying to find out how many of the Tanes were affiliated to their iwi. Half the boys didn't even know who their iwi were. But I had to go through the units because, the corrections officers had this, direction. You need to go around and ask all the Māoris what iwi they're affiliated. Half of them don't even know who they're affiliated to.
There's a disconnect.
I was so disconnected, and I felt really aroha for them because they've never been awhi'd. They've never been with who they're supposed to be, with their own people. Yeah. So half of them didn't even know who their iwi was. Yeah.
We've talked a lot.
Come from OT or in games or half of them didn't even know what their iwi was.
On our episodes through the year, we've talked a lot around identity, and we come back to this with a number of different people around just how important that is in terms of centering yourself, in terms of who you are.
Yeah. I remember seeing that. I do know one thing. I'll share the story. I do know one thing. I when the beds are too full in those prisons up north, and we got spare beds, they'll bring some of the boys from up there down to Rimataka. And I remember in the mainstream, we had two Tongans. Do you remember those Tongans, that Tongan couple that got shot up in Auckland?
Yeah, I do vaguely.
Do you remember those ones?
Yeah.
Well, those are the Comancheros.
Yeah.
So we had two of them. And you know what? They were so wha'aloalo. They were so respectful. You wouldn't even think they were in a gang. I didn't see a tattoo or anything. But they got done for killing one of their own. They were, and it was so weird, because you get some gangs who are really cheeky, really naughty, and want to be really staunch, and then you get some gang members that you wouldn't even know they're part of a gang, but they're really respectful, really wha'aloalo. So that was another insight for me to look at. I was like, wow, you would not have noticed that. But I think them wanting to put more money to build another prison is worth it. Put it in social investment into building more houses for a whānau out here. They're going to cut people's jobs at Whatuora. Doctors and nurses are flying across overseas. Well, there's nothing for our people right now, and they want to build a prison. I think something about.
Naomi, that kid that almost committed suicide. Do you think he's out now? He's got back into the community. And
I hope he's out. I really do hope he's out because he was very young, and probably influenced by things that he couldn't have when he was younger. So, he's probably an associate of a gang member or wanted to be in a gang and stuff like that. He was very young. And that's what broke my heart was there's a lot of our tānes out there that just had nowhere to go. We even had homeless people who would go and steal things in the shops and that, just so that in the winter time they've got a bed
to sleep.
3 meals a day, so they got somewhere to stay. It was really an insight for me to see that.
Now, look, we've talked a lot about your work and that, and also around sort of some of those things around people's well-being and that as well. As we just sort of head into this last part, just talk about your own sort of well-being and how you sort of take care of yourself and maintain your own sort of well-being, particularly because look, you've had some very big mahi, some jobs that I know that tend to have a bit of stress associated with them as well. So how do you look after yourself, Gnomes?
Lucky my husband's not here. He would go, she needs to ride. Okay, I haven't been riding for a while. I've been really busy, but I need to get in there. Just a lot of prayer. I pray a lot. I pray a lot when I go to bed. I don't go to church. I am one of the, us Pacifica kids were, drag raised in church and stuff like that because we didn't know any better. But as I got older, I knew what I wanted to do in my life, and I knew I needed to set a foundation for my kids, so they started going to church when they were young, and then they can make their decisions later. But I do pray, and that's what gets me through. I have tried to do some boxing. I can get there. I haven't cycled for ages, but what I find is just a lot of prayer. It's more like a meditation thing. Before I go to sleep, I'll just say, okay, thank you, Lord. I'm grateful that I'm here today. Thank you for looking after me and my whānau. Thank you for making, I'm just grateful. I'm grateful I'm here today. And that gets me through, and that makes me sleep. Because sometimes, bro, I don't sleep till 3 or 4 in the morning. But if I know I need to sleep, I just pray. And that's my own thing. That's my own thing.
That's good.
Naomi, I just so I don't forget, I know that your grandfather, how you mentioned about your grandfather.
Yeah.
I don't think you mentioned his name, but our grandparents.
So my grandfather, this is going to be funny. So my grandfather's name is Lei, and he took his mum's name, which is I'u, but he's actually a moi whaawo. And moi whaawo is my great-grandfather, who probably had about 12 wives, because I'm related to everybody. But my great-grandfather was exiled by the Germans. Oh. And they exiled my great-grandfather because my grandfather and that are from Luffy Luffy. So they're the moi whaawas from Luffy Luffy. So they exiled this great-grandfather of mine because he wouldn't let those people take their village. So he got all the men to fight, colonization, fight these guys, and they exiled him. I don't know where they exiled him. My auntie know a bit more about it. But yeah, so I come from a big line like that where we just are for the people, and we will fight till the end day. We will fight because that's our loko, that's our alofa, that's our loko, the way we are, and a lot of prayer. Yeah. So that's my great-grandfather. So I think I'm related to a lot of people in Porirua because of my great-grandfather's 12 wives. That's just natural.
What's his name? Abraham.
I was going to say, Naomi, your grandfather, that your mum's dad, that came over, the boxer.
Yeah.
I believe you answered prayer because you're such a strong lady, a strong woman, and your mahi and all the stuff that you do for our people, Porirua. And especially married to that big husband of yours, the main man.
That high maintenance husband of yours.
High maintenance husband. I don't know what I'll do without my husband, Finley. He's he's
say,
been my rock, eh?
Yeah, no, they say behind a great, a big strong man is a great and faithful lady. A woman.
Thank you.
Now, Naomi,
I tell him 10 times, but that's okay.
Naomi, Tiali and I were just talking offline before we come on, and you told him to take the lane, and I guess you did it.
I remember that. I was so frightened after that.
Yeah, I guess you did it. I guess
One
you
of the
did it in
bike
your
roads.
corrections officer voice.
Probably.
I
Yes,
think
you did too.
to be quite honest, brothers, I think I'm naturally like that.
I was like,
You know, I just have that. You can ask anyone that knows me. I think when I know that something has to be done, it's going to be done. So when
yeah,
I'm
well, I didn't even know that call when you're doing it.
I'm not tunnel vision. I always think about the wider community. Tiare, you
What?
take the lane. You
Yeah,
take
I was like, wait,
the
what lane?
lane.
You scared him. He was
It's your
That
fault.
scared me. I was like,
These trucks and these vehicles run over our cyclists. It's your fault.
that was in Tawa, wasn't it? No, it was up in
About the safety of the crew.
yeah, but you didn't run through your guys' calls with me. I didn't know what take that lane. I was like, what lane?
Naomi, he's got a bit of trauma now because of
He
that's
knows
why-
what take the
That's
lane.
why I haven't
means,
been on the bike for a while too. Still
I haven't.
traumatized.
Oh, I need to ride out by Otaki again. We need to
Yeah,
take
go up
the
to the
road
E-way.
Otaki.
It'll be awesome.
Well, look, Naomi, wonderful talanoa with you in terms of spending some time with you, particularly through all of those bits of work and that you're doing. Look, our congratulations from us three, just in terms of the Nalawinga that you do, and also thank you for your service in terms of the community and that as well. And just I think you gravitate naturally towards that Talanoa and that as well. If you talk about all of the work that you've done. So look, we're thankful in terms of what you do, but also congratulations on some wonderful work, and particularly in 2024 with the establishment of the social supermarket. Because we know that it definitely meets a gap and a need in a lot of families' sort of vulnerability in the community during this year, and particularly coming into this season. So that's why we were really keen to have a chat with you, because we wanted to make sure that people were aware of the wonderful work there, but also that it is a service open to the community as well.
Thank you.
Whakataitele lava lau whionga.
Thank you very much. It's been great. I was a bit nervous coming on this because I was thinking, I don't know what to share. I lead from the back. I have always been my style has always been the servant leadership. So I always lead from the back. So coming onto this podcast was a bit things. Yeah, it was, bro. It was still, because
you got a bit of trauma from our brother there, Tiari. He's a little bit,
Take the lane.
Traumatized.
Yeah.
Take that lane. I was like, hey, what's the lane?
Because I don't like I said
That's
to
awesome.
Shane, my bro, I don't like talking about stuff about what I do. I'd rather that you see it in my action. I'd rather that you see the way we do the mahi. You know that saying, if you do the mahi, you do the treats. Oh yeah, that's okay. But if you do the mahi, you know that you will be blessed tenfolds because you've looked after a family that needed it at that time.
Yes, there's a verse in the Bible that says action speaks louder than words. Oh,
yeah.
I don't know where that verse comes from, but I'll find out for you. but you know what, Naomi, honestly, prayer is powerful, and I really agree with you. If you can't get out there to do the physical stuff, the mental side of things with prayer, that gets me through as well. Just a lot of us through a lot of things. We all got our different opinions on that, but I really agree with you. The big man upstairs, he's always watching. He's watching us right now. He's watching Charlie when he was traumatized. Hey, Charlie.
What was?
Just kidding. But yeah, thank you, bro. I really, sister, we agree with what Shane's saying, man.
Right.
You've done so much for Porirua, and especially yourself. You've actioned it. You don't only talk it; you actually know how we live in Porirua, and thank you for sharing that with our community, all the people watching here. Hopefully, I'm just saying that you'll beat the brothers, your husbands I'll both and smash it up with a 10K. Viewers.
No one can be my husband.
Hey, at one stage there, Naomi, did you do, was it MMA or something? Nah, you did something.
So I've always been a martial artist.
Yes.
Always been a fan of martial arts. Of my dad started me off, and I was only about, I think it was like 10 or 12. We did it with Glenn Gemmell. It was Kempo. Do you remember
yes.
Kempo? Yeah, no, it used to be down at the centre, and then they moved into the recreation centre.
Yeah.
So I did
Kempo.
Kempo for many years. And then later on in my years, I did some kickboxing with my cousin and his wife, Lemmy and Sharon Martin.
Yes.
Yep, for Transformers. So, and I got back into it and I loved it. And then we did a fundraiser, charity fight.
Yeah.
It was around suicide, diabetes for our Pacifica people and for Māori. Wow. And it was a partnership with our mates from Renwick, because we used to play league against, Ana Pereira and all of them.
Yes.
So they were boxing for Batoni boxers. Oh, God, Martin, that guy Martin.
Sterling, Martin Sterling.
Boxing out on Batoni. So anyway, they wanted to do a charity thing. So we were going to be the first to do it. So Lemmy and Sharon goes, should we put our fighters in for this boxing and, bring it out to everyone? And I've never done boxing in my life ever. Loved it, but I'd never done it. And that was the first time I've ever had to learn how to box instead of trying to kick someone in the head in the ring. You get frustrated with yourself. You just want to let go. But it was a great initiative. It was to fundraise and put this fundraising through to, to our young rangatahi that were around the suicide around that time. And at that time, my mother-in-law had passed away a year before. Was it a couple of years? Because it was 2015 I fought. So 2013, my mother-in-law passed away. And so I wanted to honor her and do this fight. So I went through the excruciating trainings. Lemmy made me and the others run around holding those poles. You know how you see
Lemmy Tato.
Those poles?
Yeah,
he made us run when their gym was behind the mall. He made us run down those stairs, run around. I was like, I'm gonna die here. I felt like I was G.I. Jane.
Shout out to Lemmy Tato.
Someone vision. Yeah, so it was excruciating training, and I had Fred and Nime take us through it. They were our trainers at the time. Never done boxing in my life. Had to cut weight, or else I wouldn't get into the ring with someone to fight. So, so the funny thing is that every fighter had those shoes. You can have those shoes, but in our training we don't wear shoes, right? So I went into the ring with no shoes. New to this boxing. And I end up fighting this beautiful girl who's about 6 foot something, looks like a model, and I look like Fiona from Shrek.
Come on now.
So we were Shrek.
I thought, why is this model in the ring? What's she doing here? But praise God, I won that fight, so I was very, very happy.
Yeah.
And, it was for a good
cause.
It was a good cause. To support those vulnerable communities, our families in there, and it was my honor to do that for my husband's mother. That was for her.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
I had to ask the question because I had something there. I'm like,
Well, Naomi, you're welcome back anytime, particularly in terms of the wonderful work you do. And we're, definitely keen to get you back to talk about a number of things out in the community in terms of issues and trends that you see as well, because also important for people to be able to sort of understand what's that environment, particularly as sort of things change. Nothing ever stays real static, so there's always things moving. So always good to get people who have got their ear to the ground to be able to come and sort of share a bit of talanoa with us as well.
Well, thank you.
Cool.
All right.
So I'm going to take us out.
Take us out.
Yep.
Naomi, Siania,
Yep.
taking us out.
Yeah, I'll take us out. So look, thanks everyone. Like and subscribe. On the page, we'll have links to the social supermarket and to a number of things connected with the runanga and services. We'll have that on, and we'll see everyone next time. This is episode 20, and we'll be closing out the year with one more episode before we finish for Christmas as well. So we'll see everyone very soon. Mā te wā.
Mā te wā.
Ka kite.
So fast we forward. Manuel